Hi, this is Linda, and I am so excited to be able to share with you one of my very favorite new products from Stampin' Up. It is called the Thinlits Label Card. And what it does is it makes this absolutely delightful flip card or swing card. I've heard them referred to either way, and I think there's probably other names for them as well. We used to make these years ago the old-fashioned way, where we would do a lot of measuring. There was always a lot of math involved. You had to measure very precisely from here to here to here in order to get everything to work out correctly so that when it was all folded down, it would fit inside an ordinary sized envelope. And not only did you have to measure very efficiently, but you also had to be pretty adept at X-Acto knifing. So you would always cut your shape with an X-Acto knife right in through here. A lot of my clients were very scared of that, and I ended up doing their cards for them in that case. Stampin' Up! Has now brought forth a Thinlits die that goes with your Big Shot. It's used on your Big Shot, that is. And it consists of, well, shoot, I should have had this piece ready. Okay, I had it set aside for another purpose here. This is your masterpiece right here, your masterpiece to make your masterpiece. Did you get that? This is what's going to actually cut your shape. So I think you can sort of see, if I were to lay this on top of it, superimpose that right on top of it, you could see that it cuts the shape of your card, as well as scoring those two parallel lines there and then cutting out that part. So I'm sure by now you can see what I'm talking about, that it's going to do all that shape for you. So all you have to do is pass that through your Big Shot. In addition to that, you're going to get, in that same kit, you'll get these auxiliary dies, and you got a couple of arrows here, a couple of banners. This one says I heart you. This is a little scripty version of HI, high. You'd put a little dot above the I there. And then your ampersand. Ampersands, as you may know, are very, very trendy right now, so it's kind of fun to have that one too. To use this, what you'll want to do is you'll use this in conjunction, of course, as I mentioned, with your Big Shot. But if you have, or I should say when you get the magnetic, oh wait, I forgot, there's one more auxiliary piece that goes with it. So you have a total of 8 auxiliary pieces in addition to your main piece right here. Now, I started talking about your magnetic platform. This is a brand new item that's Stampin' Up. I think it's in our annual catalog. Here's how it works. Just like most of our dies, excuse me just a minute, I just dropped one. All right, I'm back. Like most of our dies, you build a sandwich, and your sandwich is on top of your platform. Bottom layer of your sandwich, think of that as the bread, is one of your acrylic plates. I encourage you to not use one that's as dinged up as this one. I've got a couple of good ones. I've got new ones on order, but they aren't here yet, so I can't use them for this demo. Then you're going to put your paper. This is just a half a sheet of paper, so 8.5 by 11 cut in half. That's what that is. And then I'm going to take this, put it cutting side down. Cutting side is the side that has a little ridges on it. So in other words, the smooth side goes up, the rigid side goes, the side with the cutting parts go down. That goes right into place. And when it's on the magnetic platform, it's just going to hold itself pretty much in place. And then another cutting pad on top. All right, pass that through the Big Shot, and when it comes out, this is what you're going to get. It's going to look like this. Now, remember how I mentioned use cutting pads that are not all dinged up like mine, because unfortunately when they're all scraped up and scratched up, your framelits and your Thinlits are not going to cut as cleanly as they would otherwise with a fairly new cutting mat. So you may find some little hairy stuff along the edge right here, which I do have, and I'm just going to kind of take my fingernail and scrape some of that extra hairy stuff off. Now you wouldn't have to do this as much or even at all if you had better cutting pads. than I have. All right, let's move all that out of the way. When this comes out of your Big Shot, I don't know if the camera will show that it's got two parallel scored lines right here, but I think you'll start to notice it when I start to push back on it this way. So what you're going to do is you're going to make a mountain fold here and a valley fold here. And if you wanted to use your bone folder, that would speed, you know, make a nice neat line. In fact, I think I'll do that. There we go. So we'll just get those squished down nicely. Remember that auxiliary piece, this little shape right here. I've gone ahead and already passed this through the Big Shot with that, by using that piece right there. And I'll get its hairy stuff off of it. Whew, boy, am I anxious to get those new pads, those new cutting pads. Okay, now as long as I got this in my hand, I think I'm going to go ahead and stamp my little greeting on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to align the pokey ends here with the main vertical line on my grid paper. Those of you who have stamped with me know that I absolutely cannot stamp without Stampin' Up's grid paper, so I'll never, ever, ever, ever let that run out. Alrighty, so I'm just going to stamp this on here to give a tone-on-tone effect. Did I talk about what stamps I'm working with? I don't believe that I did. These are the two stamp sets that I'm working with on this card. This one is called Flower Shop. It's a brand new set that's in the catalog that just went live this summer. And this is so totally my style. Those of you who stamped with me would probably know that and pick up on that immediately. It was one of the first ones I had to get. And I'm using that in conjunction with Oh Hello, but the only stamp image I'm using from here is this one. So if you have another greeting set that you wanted to use, that one would be really easy to substitute. This Flower Shop coordinates with the new punch that is called Pansy Punch. And it's one of our newer style, newer body styles. I'm going to tell you a little bit of, share a trick for aligning this one a little bit later when I get to that stage. But I do want to tell you that although these are available independently in the catalog, if you purchase them as a set, as a bundle, using the bundle product code, you'll get 15% off. So make sure that you do that when you do order these. I want you to get your 15% off, but you've got to have the bundle code to do that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put this into place. And you'll see, as if you haven't watched me stamp in a while, that I only put my adhesive around the outer edges because as far as I can tell or have ever noted, if the edges are anchored, the middle's not going anywhere. So why put adhesive in the middle? It's just wasting it, right? So just anchor your edges down really well, and that's all you'll need to do. So the three colors I'm working with today are Pool Party, Blushing Bride, and Pear Pizzazz. They all are former in colors that have returned to us. I'm particularly excited to see every single one of them. I love every one of them. Blushing Bride is a really nice pink, not quite as biting maybe. It's a little softer on the eye than Pretty in Pink. And Pretty in Pink, as you know, well, here's Blushing Bride. Pretty in Pink kind of retired. And Pear Pizzazz has now come back to replace Certainly Celery. And once again, this is a little bit warmer shade. So they're just a little easier on the eye when you look at them. So I generally like, when I'm going to do an all-over pattern, I generally like to start with my lightest shade of color. So here we go. I'm going to start with Blushing Bride. And I just want to make sure that that stamp is well covered with ink. I think it would be wise to flatten this out first. So there we go. I'm going to do that. And again, I just want to make sure. Yeah. It's looking good, looking good. All righty. There we go. So we've got a couple of pink ones on there, and now let's do a couple of green ones. And again, one time on the scrap paper, make sure it's adequately inked. And let's just put her right there. And we'll send some up around in this area here. There we go. Give you a little tip. When you're running an image like a flower that's going to go off the edge like that, I think it's really nice to leave at least half of the center part on there. In other words, you're going to have more than half of that image on there. I think that is a little more pleasing to the eye than it might otherwise be.